What's happening, good folks? Just here ripping and running, man, as I usually do, as we all do. Just out, taking care of business so we can take care of our families. Listen, man, just wanted to come to you. I was just thinking about, I was just thinking about a few things. And, I was talking with a friend of mine the other day, and they were asking about how do you juggle life? How do you juggle in terms of parenting? You work full-time, ministry, or whatever outside interests that you're a part of, and then your children, and you have multiple children and their personalities and this, that, and the other. Now, how do you juggle it? So I just wanted to, in answering that, just want to do a quick little video on that. And again, this is one person's opinion. This is one person's opinion. I am by no means no expert. I'm not a trained psychiatrist or, expert in parenting or whatever the case may be. I can give you principles that I've used that has worked thus far, you know what I mean? And hopefully, you can use it. Hopefully you can glean from it, take what fits you, and as the old saying goes, eat the meat, spit out the bones, so to speak. So, first of all, let me say, you have to want to. And that sounds, I don't assume everybody wants or is willing to take on the load of work, life, ambitions, family, etc. Proof of that is we just have so many single homes and so many situations where kids don't have a consistent, intimate, and productive interaction with both parents. I'll say it like that, without, judging or coming at anybody's neck. But the fact that we have those scenarios prove not everybody's willing. But you have to want to. This has to be a priority, because it's not easy. It does not fall in your lap, and there is a lot of sacrifice. So again, but I'll just share with you my situation, my story, and how I came to it. And again, hopefully you can use some of these principles. When my wife and I were pregnant with our first child, I never forget, it was a few weeks or so before he would be born. I had this insane level of anxiety. I've never quite felt that before, so I didn't really know what it was, you know what I mean? And so I remember usually when I'm in high stress situations, I would go out and jog or something like that and burn off that nervous energy. And typically I'd be okay. So this one particular day I jogged, I ran, took a basketball and shot around a little bit at the local playground. I was out there, I don't know, maybe an hour just doing various things. And I could not get the edge of this nervousness off of me. And so it was at that moment, I'll never forget, it was a big fence in the playground where I grew up at. So I remember going back to when I was a kid or whatever, and I climbed this gate, and I'm sitting on top of this gate, and I'm just sort of talking to God, meditating a little bit, and I'm like, wow, where's all this nervousness coming from? What's going on? And so from some time before, when I took some personal counseling classes, how to counsel yourself, this course I took, and so I learned how to go inside myself, to talk to myself and see what was going on. So upon doing that, obviously I'm about to have this baby, and I'm somewhat excited and very excited and somewhat nervous. But I began to ask myself some questions. And long story short, what I was really wrestling with was the end of my life as I knew it. You know what I mean? Instinctively, somehow I knew my life would change drastically. And so I was a little concerned about the freedoms that I've had in my life up to this point. And will those freedoms go away? I won't be able to just pick up and go when I want. Obviously my money now would have to be spread in another dimension. And so I was just nervous about that. And I really had this internal feeling that my life was over, my freedom was over. And would I ever have the freedoms in life? Will I have enough money? All of these types of things. And so upon realizing that was my core root issue, I sat there and I dealt with that. And I was sort of like, some type of way over that. Like, wow, my life is this it? This is it. But as I'm sitting there and I'm meditating and talking with God and praying and stuff, and then it hit me, there was a passage of scripture that, this is not the context about parenting, obviously, but I took the principle out of it and held on to it, where Jesus was talking to his disciples and he said to them, he who tries to save his own life, will lose it. But he that loses his life for my sake, he'll gain it. And again, he's talking about, the kingdom and the things that he wants us to live for him and things like that. So obviously that's the direct context, but I took that principle out of there and was like, the more you try to save your own self from these so-called pressures and responsibilities and demands of parenting, the more you try to shield yourself or save yourself from it, you will lose yourself. You'll lose at this game of parenting, at this game of marriage, at this, that high level intimate game of in relationships. You're going to lose it. But if you accept the demands, if you accept the responsibility, if you accept the call to, again, to the passage, the kingdom and the call of Yeshua or Christ, then you'll gain life. You'll get more fulfillment out of life. And again, using that same principle into parenting, if you accept what it takes to be a parent, what it takes to be a husband at this new level now, you'll gain fulfillment. You'll gain life. You'll gain reward. And so that was my moment of accepting. That's why I say you have to accept, you have to want to. You have to look at the fact that, you'll have to shed some friends. You won't be able to buy for yourself any and every time you want to. You'll lose some sleep. Yes. You'll lose some freedoms. Yes. But if you embrace that and take on the demands, the responsibility, and the reward, and the fulfillment, and the excitement of being a parent, you will gain much more. And that's exactly what happened when I never forget, the day I held my first child in my arms, it was as if it was like our connection. He touched my arms and so forth, and it was like a download of information that I got. I just knew how to raise him. It's hard to explain, but it was crazy. And so from that moment on, obviously there was tough nights, sleepless nights, Jesus Christ. But I said, you know what? I'm embracing this. I'm a father now. And everything that comes with it, I'm going to find my fulfillment in being a father. I'm not going to try to, in between parenting, find some fulfillment in life. No. With being a father, with being a husband, I'm going to find the fulfillment that is within that on-taking. That is within that, in those efforts, in that state of life. Hopefully this example just came to me. Let's say, shout out to my man Derek Ford, Charles, South Carolina, a buddy of mine that I knew. And I want to end with this. This helped me with that decision and all of the corresponding duties that went along with parenting. This helped me. We were on a junior high school basketball team together. and I was a guard, and he was one of the forwards. So he's a bigger guy. And so when we used to run suicides in practice, you guys know what that is. You run to the foul line, back to the baseline, half court, back to the baseline, so forth and so on. And so, we all complained about that, but somewhere around mid-season, my man Derek just was beating everybody. And he's the bigger guy now. He's not our center. He's not our biggest guy, but he was a bigger guy. And he used to beat the guards. He used to beat everybody in this drill. And I never forget, we were walking home from practice one day, and I said, "Yo, Derek, man, how are you kicking behind in the suicides? Like, yo, man, you're really good at running these." And he said to me, yo, I hate running them just like everybody else. He said, but somehow I got in my mind that if I run them hard, I'll get through the drill quicker. And then he said, and then I realized the drill didn't hurt as much when I just ran them as hard as I could. I got through the drill quicker, and the pain of the exercise wasn't as painful as it was, when he was bull crapping around running them, half running them. The drill was longer, and they seemed to hurt more. So I said, wow. So the next time we had practice, I can't remember if I beat him or not. I probably did, but I'm not sure. But I just remember taking that principle that he said, and I ran the suicides as hard as I could run them. And sure enough, I got through it quicker. It still hurt, but it didn't hurt as much when I was running them half lazy. And so saying that to say, Derek, good shout out. I use that principle to this day in so many areas in my life. And so I took that on in being a parent. Let me do what it takes to be a good parent. I'll get through this process quicker and it won't hurt as much. And so what those duties are, being attentive. When my kids need to talk, they have my attention. Well, before I get there, the first thing I did with my children when they were all babies, they were babies, and I would walk with them up and down the hallway, to rock them back to sleep or whatever. I told them from day one, they were infants now. I did this with all of them. I love you. I'm so glad you were born. You're going to be a leader one day. You're going to bless the world that you live in. Your world needs what you got. I used to tell them that every night. And I committed myself to that type of attitude. And again, that helped my disposition toward them, because I'm not just raising a child so that one day they can graduate high school, hopefully get into college, and hopefully get a good job. Yes, those are all objectives and goals that I have for them. But beyond that, I'm raising a human being that is made in the image and the likeness of God, that will one day have his own family, and or at minimum, he's responsible for blessing the world with his gifts and his talents. That changed my parenting style from just being surface, making sure you don't go to jail, making sure you don't get in trouble, making sure you don't get on drugs, making sure you graduate high school. And again, all great objectives, but it broadened it. I'm going to make sure to the best of my ability you don't get in trouble. Statistics show when you eat with your children, talk with your children, laugh with your children, that lowers the risk of them getting in trouble. When you're actively involved in their lives, that lowers the risk of them getting in trouble. It don't mean they won't get in trouble. It lowers the risk. So anyway, I committed myself to that. I'm going to run this drill every night. I'm not going to complain about it. Yes, I'm tired, but I'm going to get through this drill. Walking down the hallway. Son, I'm so glad you're born. I love you. I waited for you. You're now here. You're a leader. You're going to be a blessing to your culture and to your generation. They need what you have. I'm going to get through these drills, not necessarily to say as quick as possible, but I'm just going to commit to doing this. And as they got older, committing my time to them. When they needed to talk, I listened. My son sent something out to me yesterday, actually. He sent me a text. It said, if you listen to your children tell you small things, or if you don't want to hear the small things from your children now, you'll never hear the big things, that's important to them later in life. Something to that effect. But that is very, very true. And again, like I say, that was something that I just committed myself to them, and I missed my exit, but it's all great. But anyway, so just commit. Number one, commit to being the best parent you can be. Commit to learning how to be a really, really good parent, especially as your children get older. And don't just think, ain't nobody can tell me nothing. Sure they can. You can learn a lot from people. And I'll get into that in our next video. Some of the books and some of the lectures and things that I listen to that help me raise my kids. But number one, decide, man, commit, make it a priority. I'm going to be a great father, a great mother, a great uncle, a great grandparent, wherever you find yourself listening to this. And then commit to the principles that it takes to raising not just a child, but raising an image bearer of God. That's deep. That's deep. Commit to the principles that it takes to raising a child properly. It will hurt, but it'll hurt less if you just commit to it, be in your child's life, and continue to evolve as a parent as they evolve as a child. Hopefully that was a blessing to you. Peace and love.